The Square Ball Podcast.
Welcome to Propaganda. It's brought to you by Levi Solicitors, who will do you a 10% discount on your legal fees at levisolicitors.co.uk/the square ball. Dan, Michael and Moscow here in the studio with you for the show where we find out what's been said about Leeds United in relation to the most recent game, both by you and the opposition fans. Audio and video. If you're listening to the audio version, you can find this on YouTube and vice versa. First half of the show means that we take the temperature of what Leeds fans have been saying via the feedback that our TSB Plus subscribers sent. Sorry?
It's taking the temperature.
Sizzling.
People that hot?
Yeah, well, we won.
We did win, and people were essentially concentrating on the fact that we won. Everyone was just bothered about the 3 points, which I think is a fair reflection of what happened at the weekend at Carrow Road.
3 points.
We did. That is a truth, a universal truth.
We got them for winning.
It ranged from glad to have won to Jesus Christ, how did we win? It was pretty much the range of emotion there.
Nah, I thought we deserved to win, even though Farke didn't. I mean, we didn't have Farke's comments, did we, on the podcast?
No,
on the match ball, sorry, because he hadn't yet spoken. But do we have the clip to hand now? I think did somebody send it over to me?
I think so. Someone said, "Well, I think we was a better team, and I can't blame the players. They gave absolutely everything for me. They were trying so hard, and in the dressing room, I could see them, all the muscles were bulging, and you could really tell they'd put everything into the game. And honestly, I don't know why those horrible boys from Leeds scored that goal. It wasn't fair on Tim. He did not deserve it. He's a very good goalkeeper, and actually, well." Even if we go to the Championship, I'd rather be in the Championship than be a bully in the Premier League.
Very good, thank you. I thought that's what he said.
Something like that.
Did
anyway.
echo the comments, but people did ask, were we actually aware of the fact that we won? I think, to be honest, the match ball, we were just a little bit frazzled by the experience of being put through the ringer by Leeds a little bit this season, because it's not been fun up to this point, has it? We've not felt the same kind of joie de vivre, the joy of being in the top division, I think, that we felt last year. Even though last year felt quite tense. I think we forget, don't we, that last year was quite tense for the most part until we kind of knew for sure we were safe towards the back end of the season, and then everyone was like, oh, this is fun.
I mean, we were talking before we started recording about Fulham last season, weren't we, and saying now, I think last year 29 points was enough to keep you up, and it was only when we beat Fulham which was was it middle of Feb or something, that everyone was like, okay, Fulham probably won't catch us, and as it was, we finished 20 points ahead of them. But there was still that tension there, but that isn't to say that we should pretend we are playing well, because we are not.
We're not, but also, as we were saying also before we started recording, we've got 10 points from 10 games. If we get 1 point per game, it'll be a shit horrible season, but it'll probably keep us up. You don't need to be great to stay up in this division, but I'd like us to be better.
Well, I think we need more wins than Moscow said when he said 5
4.
wins.
You need 5 to stay up.
Just one more win will keep us up.
Well, that's the number of wins that teams have been going down with.
Yeah.
So if we get more than that, it gives us a fighting chance. It's kind of the point I was stumbling towards. There is normally a big gap between teams going down with 4 or 5 wins, and then 17th place will have 8 or 9. So ideally, we want to be up towards the 20 wins angle, but if worst happens, I think we will win more than 4 games this season, and that will give us a better chance than Norwich are going to have. Yeah,
I mean, Norwich are going down.
Yeah, there's no two ways about it.
I cannot see a way out of this for them.
I think that's the big thing to kind of take about our performance in this game, is that we played much worse than we can play, and I don't know if Norwich can play any better, and that's the difference. So we've got room to improve, and we know that the team that we've got can play a lot better than it has so far this season. Whereas Norwich, I mean, Farke, I don't know if we have the audio of this part of it, but he was saying that they'd, after he got through all the delusional guff about them being the better team and having momentum or whatever, which I don't think was ever remotely true, that they'd earmarked this game as one that they could really try and attack, be on the front foot and win. Whereas he also said that the games against Chelsea and Manchester City and Liverpool, says, we know we have no chance in these games, which you never hear Marcelo Bielsa.
That didn't sound like him.
Well, that was just me doing an impression.
I don't like it when people do impressions of him.
No, it's never going to be as good. But you never hear Marcelo Bielsa saying we don't have a chance against Manchester City. You'd say it's very difficult because of the economic circumstances, quality of the players to overcome this opponent, but then we beat them.
Yeah.
Whereas Farker is here in, it was Halloween, saying, oh, we don't stand a chance against those. We do have a chance against Leeds, and they lost. So it's completely different scenarios. And I think I suppose as bad as we are, but hey, doesn't that give us much more room to improve?
Well, let's be positive about it. But yeah, on the number of wins, Jeff P in the feedback does say, "What a relief!" exclamation mark. Only 8 more wins needed, or 3 according to Moscow, which is absolutely correct.
I think Pete picked up on something as well, saying it's strange how happy we all were with the 1-1 draw with Wolves, and then this feels almost more like a defeat, and that has come through. I mean,
Well, he says it feels almost like a draw. He didn't say defeat. Come on,
it feels almost like a draw. Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say that's so negative that that's Michael negative.
Yeah, I mean we'll get on to heroes and villains later, obviously, but there is a very large number of Leeds United nominations for a game that we did actually win. So, but yeah, it was stressful, and as much as the win did kind of alleviate a bit of stress, I think there's enough nagging doubts in the background that people are still not exactly happy.
No, I mean the other side of this is that if we actually beat Leicester on Sunday,
It's all fine.
it is all fine because we'll have hit 13 points. We'll be moving up towards mid-table. It's 2 wins on the bounce, and suddenly the world looks a lot rosy, doesn't it? Whereas you just cannot imagine a side like Norwich or some of the other ones that are milling around near the bottom doing the same and winning 2 on the bounce. So it'd be a good chance for it to lay down a positive marker as well as swimming in all this absolute terror.
And there's that weird perception of form about teams that we don't watch as often as we do Leeds, like Brentford being the Premier League's darlings. They've only won twice. And Crystal Palace, lots of people, because Conor Gallagher played well against Manchester City and they won that game. It's only their second win of the season.
I think they've both been against teams with 10 men as well when they've won the game.
Is that right?
Yeah. And I tried watching...
I might have made that up.
I tried watching Palace against...
I mean, we could have researched it, but what's the point?
I tried watching them against Arsenal. Yeah, they beat Spurs, who were down to 10 men, although, I mean, Spurs don't make much difference. I tried watching them against Arsenal to see what Conor Gallagher was like, and I was a bit distracted during it, but the one thing I remember him doing is trying to play a pass forward for their winger and just booting it out for a goal kick. So he obviously is a lot better than that, but I think we can build up some of the other teams that we don't microanalyze in our minds to be much better than they are. And when you do look all the way up the table to Brentford have 3 wins actually, don't they? And Palace have 2, but Brentford are only 2 points ahead of us is the thing. There's not a great deal
Hey Jude,
necessary for us to be mid-table again.
I mean, loads of people have picked out, Boney M, Johnny, Winnie, Lee, Connor, Philip, all like problems remain. We know problems remain. Let's not dwell on it. Let's be positive today. Come on. There were loads of positives to take out that game. We didn't actually, on the match ball, talk enough about Pascal Struijk because he was involved in both goals, had a good game. His passing range was good. And I think also what you're saying there is like, the micro-analysis is that sometimes we lose sight of the good stuff that happened because we're so worried about the little details of things that went wrong. And Struijk was good, I thought.
I think he didn't get a mention because he was good in a fairly understated way just at the back, and it felt like, well, he's only defending against Norwich. Like it's a day off, more or less, isn't it? Like Liam Cooper was fine, Llorente was fine.
Well, if it was a day off, then why all the panic?
Yeah, I don't know. But he was good. I thought he was good. He was playing a weird sort of role in this game because he was in a back 3, but then when I looked at like his average position and where his touches were, and he was a lot further forward than both Llorente and Cooper. Nathaniel
mentions it. Yes, he's not sure if mentioned, but Struijk for bringing the ball out from the back like prime Beckenbauer. I don't know if he was trying to referee the game at the same time as well, like Beckenbauer, but that one escaped my attention.
It's one of the ways we try to overcome the dearth of players in midfield is when we have got 3 at the back, it's one of them will be wandering up to help Calvin, and sometimes it was Struijk, and that's what we're talking about with Llorente trying to dribble around Pookie. It's all around trying to get numbers into midfield while still having the extra man at the back. So, and that's why Struijk is very good for Bielsa's system, because he has the ability to do Calvin's job, which he's been getting better at when we've seen him there, and can also do bits of that by just stepping out of defence and do it. It's that whole thing where, I think Pep Guardiola says you don't look at positions anymore, you just look at attributes and what they can do when they happen to be standing in a certain area. And so Pascal Struijk is someone who can just, if Norwich's centre forward drops off, he can move into midfield and he can move back again, and it's all absolutely fine. Same with the all the players up front where it didn't really work very well, but Bielsa was saying that he was trying to get Daniel James and Jackie Harrison to play like wingers, to be getting onto through balls into the channels, because Norwich had 3 at the back, so you're not doing a straight line run to the penalty spot. You're trying to get either side of them and turn them around and confuse them, which, if they were any good, it might have worked. I kid. I'm sorry. I'm glad Jackie's hair is shorter now. A
number of people did pick up on the Jackie stroke. Well, mainly Jackie, but also the
Jackie James axis of evil. Is that what it's been described as?
The scum. Well, of course, Jackie Harrison played for Scum, didn't he, as well? So at one point,
have we uncovered something here?
When he was like 13, admittedly. So
hidden in plain sight, Michael.
Maybe we can forgive him. But yes, Noel Whelan's discount telesales did say that Harrison was awful. But him and James constantly on top of each other seems to be the issue. We're trying to play one as a winger and one as a striker, but seemingly not telling them which is playing which.
Yeah, and it's new shit they're doing, as you're saying. Play like you play there, but somewhere else that you're not used to being. It's confusing, isn't it?
They've both played there before. Harrison's done a bit of it for us in the past, and James is a centre forward internationally, so it's not too alien. But
is he?
Well, he plays through the middle for Wales. I don't know if you call him centre forward necessarily, because they've got Kiefer Moore for that, but he's central.
Sort of plays off him, doesn't he? Really?
Yeah. It's like
they've got Tyler Roberts as well. So if he's getting in ahead of Tyler Roberts in that position, it must be good.
Yeah, says a lot about his standing in the. He's practically Prime Minister of Wales.
I feel a lot better now. It's Tuesday lunchtime that we're recording this. I feel better about the win than I did on Saturday, because it was stressful, because we needed to get it done, didn't we? And Bielsa, in his comments, spoke about alleviating the pressure on players who, the mistakes creep into their games, don't they? When he tries to put them in a position where they can believe in themselves, like we saw post-Forest, wasn't it, when Luke Ayling looked like he wanted the world to swallow him up, and he sat them all down and said, "This is all the good stuff that you did." And they were reminded that
good luck finding any of that at Norwich.
But they were reminded they're good footballers and had it within them, and they produced that performance at Brentford. It just feels, I don't know, we're sort of gradually clawing our way back up there and hopefully building a bit of form and momentum. One thing I did want to talk about, though, referee. We did chat a bit about it on the match ball. What did you make to Taylor's performance? And I know we end up talking about VAR and refs every bloody week, but he was distracting and annoying, wasn't he?
He was very low key in some ways in the way, because I don't think he made any spectacularly bad individual decisions. He just, death by 1,000 cuts, managed to ruin a game by giving a free kick roughly every 30 seconds. There was no flow to the game, which probably didn't help us, I would say.
Yeah, Sarah Sazzi picked him out in particular on the feedback.
He's going to get plenty of villain nominations as well, just to be...
just a spoiler alert.
Just to make you aware, yes, I think he may even have the most on there, so... it made a change from all the Leeds players who had to be nominated.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if this is me projecting or inventing something, but some of these refs seem to like the profile that they've got. It feels like, watching it from the outside, like we always used to say, the old adage goes that the best refs are the ones you don't notice. And yet you notice so many of them in the Premier League, don't you? I
feel like he maybe just had a bit of a weird day and he's not normally that bad. A bit like Calvin. Maybe we need to just cut him some slack and say, it was just an odd...
Well, you looked at the numbers, didn't you?
Yeah, I compared against our league games so far and against Taylor's league games so far, or whatever of Taylor's league games are covered on whoscored.com, which was a bigger average than this season, so a bigger number of games than this season, so it must go back further. But Taylor's average is 20.68 free kicks a game, and in this one, there were 37.
Right.
So something went wrong, because it wasn't a dirty game either, and we had 4 players booked. Cody Drama for absolutely nothing towards the end.
That was weird, wasn't it? Yeah.
But I don't know what he was doing. I don't know if it's because of the way Norwich were, and we couldn't get out of their own half, so they kept getting a lot. It felt like they got a lot of soft free kicks where the ref kind of felt a bit sorry for them, because he was like, "Oh, that's a bit unfair. They ran towards him a bit fast there. That's not really fair. I'll just give him a free kick, because otherwise it looks like Leeds are breaking, and then it might cause an issue for me if I'm giving a goal on the back of that." So. It was an odd performance.
The factors you're not considering are that Norwich are the second most fouled team in the Premier League this season, 1 foul behind Grealishless Aston Villa, who've somehow managed to maintain their superiority as the most fouled team in the division.
Do you see the bloke rolling around, by the way? He went full Adrian, didn't he? Adrian.
The Villa player?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was good.
So Norwich are the second most fouled team in the division, and Leeds are the second most fouling team in the division. So there may be something down to the players perhaps committing too many fouls that meant
No, it's a
there were
conspiracy.
too many free kicks.
It's a conspiracy against us.
It's interesting that Norwich are that, because given they're a team that don't particularly dominate possession, like Man City being the most fouled kind of makes sense because they have the ball all the time.
Them. Yeah, I think.
But Norwich are shit.
And you saw with a lot of them, I think that's what was annoying and why you do look at Anthony Taylor and wonder about the refereeing performance, was because a lot of the free kicks were just kind of little nudges in the back or taps of the ankles where the Norwich players were going down very easily. And I think maybe Farke's only thing you can tell them is, well, if you can't get the ball to Pookie, then maybe you just go on the ground.
Yeah, it did feel like that. It felt like the ref allowed them an easy way out quite often. But I just be like, it's the Luke Ayling free kicks. Essentially what they all were. Just those ones where you kind of go, oh, come on.
Yeah.
Apart from when Luke Ayling does it, and
technically it's a foul. You're going to go, technically it's a foul, it's a free kick, but we don't want to see that, do we? No.
I mean, given the way Norwich were playing as well, they just had players who were at the back trying to occasionally run forward with the ball who really weren't capable of doing it. Like Kabak just kept running forward and losing the ball over and over again, and then Hanley would
Cabbage more like
Hanley would have a little look at doing it and then think, I'm Grant Hanley.
It's a vegetable that sounds like Hanley.
I can't do this. I'll just kick it towards the old Ginger Screech fella up front.
Yeah.
Who was absolutely awful, by the way.
Sargent.
I can't understand how he's in the Premier League. They paid actual money for him.
He's an international footballer.
Yeah, but not really. Is he American?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, Josie Altidore was an American striker as well, wasn't he? Do you remember how bad he was in the Premier League? He just looks like an absolute lump up front.
No Kobe Jones, is he? Is it Kobe Jones?
Yeah, Kobe Jones, he was better.
Alexi Lalas, I'm trying to think of other
Robbie Rogers.
Yeah, best Premier League, well, not quite Premier League.
Yeah,
American
never made
football.
it, did
No,
he?
bless him. He would have done, though, and he would have been the best.
Him and Eddie Lewis, left side to fear.
Michael, I want to come to you on this as our expert in coaching and tactical advice. Brian on the feedback has suggested we need to indulge in less hard kicking at each other. Enough is enough. It sounds like Brian's at the end of his tether.
I think it's the passing he's criticising there, isn't it? The hard kicking passing.
Right.
Which when we did go down to the training ground to not meet Bielsa, as it turned out, we did see them training, and I did remark on, well, I think we all did, of just how hard they were kicking it to each other.
Yeah.
I think it's how you create dynamic play, though, isn't it? Because it's harder for the opposition to stop it when you're doing the hard kicking.
I go back to my own extensive experience as a child of being coached, and remember, it's easier. I remember being told it's easier to control a football that's hit to you quite hard than one that's under hit.
That's not true.
Don't know.
I think you've been lied to there. Yeah,
is it all a?
I think it's just
a joke. Is it all wrong?
It's just not working. Is the thing that's going wrong. I think the hard kicking is fine. We're just not kicking it at each other as often as we should.
Right. Fair point. Yeah. And one point to make that people have picked out. I don't think we spoke about him, or did we, on the match ball? Bamford, Toby Lerone, good name again. Back on this week. Andrew Larkin, Lee, Winnie, all talking about missing Bamford's energy up front terribly, and it feeds into what we were saying about the wingers playing as strikers. Experiment that we're trying at the minute. You put Bamford back in there and it just solves a hell of a lot of problems, doesn't it?
I mean, his form wasn't brilliant prior to his injury, but I think the more we see the team without him, the more you realise no one else can play the same way as him. And even if maybe things aren't going for him in a game, it just changes the shape of us, and it means we can have more players in their actual right positions. Whereas it feels like at the moment we're just kind of we're kind of cycling through different lineups where things are nothing's quite set up as it should be. You know, you've got Shackleton there, you've got Dan James or Jackie or Rodrigo or Tyler Roberts trying to play up front for a little bit, seeing if they can do the same thing, and they just can't. So I'm vaguely hopeful. Is that yeah? I suppose I am, that when he gets back and when we have a fully fit squad again,
it'll be something closer to what we recognise.
It will look more. Yeah, it will look more like old Leeds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, fully fit squad is definitely a big factor. No Bamford, and it's also the quality and the status of the players that are missing. Bamford is, I know it's only Andorra, but he's an England international. Luke Ayling's been brilliant at right back for us for however many seasons, and Shackleton ain't quite getting up to that standard. And then Firpo also wasn't brilliant before getting injured and had a rocky start, but is actually a left back, so is an alternative to Dallas, and then it frees up. Dallas can be back in midfield where we can use him there instead. So, but yeah, Firpo should be a good player in theory. So that's another big miss. And Calvin, who wasn't very good against Norwich, but was injured enough to miss England duty and also a Leeds United match. So there's the factor of not only injuries but full fitness. And we didn't mention it when Harrison was touched on. We'll probably bring it up now, and then we can just be mean about him for his villain nominations. But the after effects of COVID, you wonder whether that's something that's kind of, you put that 2 and 2 together with his mysterious rib injury and say he's not quite there.
Is it a mysterious rib injury like Prince had?
No.
Okay, just wondered.
I don't think it's anything like that.
Okay.
Unless you have other information.
No, it was a question, not a statement. It was a question.
I was reading the Athletics thing about Ben Godfrey at Everton and him, the effects of kind of COVID on him, and I think it's getting, now that's such a almost a normal part of life. It's off. Footballer X has got COVID. It's fine. It is a disease that has killed a lot of people and has a severe toll on the health of others, and is still because it's new.
It's not a known quantity yet, is it?
Yeah, and managing the recovery and knowing what the after effects are is all quite new to physios and doctors and the equivalents of Rob Price at other clubs. So, and we now have the testimony of Stuart Dallas saying that, since he had COVID earlier in the season, his energy levels just haven't been the same as they should be, and he's found it harder to play that way. So, how much that is a factor upon us, who knows? Or the alternative, as we'll probably say later, is he's just terrible and should go away.
The way you described it, was Jean-Kevin Augustin possibly the original victim of COVID? Because he could never do it, could he? He was always tired. That's what they said.
Very, very, very long COVID.
Anyway, we never signed him.
Lots of love for Rafinha in this, as well as some question marks of whether he's doing too much. But let's finish on a positive and say that it's all going to be all right. There are enough people in the comments and the feedback saying it's all going to be all right. Some wildly confident. Andrew Larkin describes us as whining maggots. The lot of you, presumably means us three, for our stress levels at the weekend. And Kit as well has been on saying, we're better than a number of teams: Norwich, Burnley, Newcastle and Watford. Likely better than Brentford, Southampton, Palace and Wolves. Arguably better than Villa, Everton and Brighton. So we've got nothing to worry about in terms of relegation. He says, if Thomas Frank had done his job properly and beaten Burnley, we would be 6 points clear of the bottom three, which would make us closer to Europe than relegation.
I mean, we are, so Scum are fifth in the, I don't know what the Conference League qualifications are, but we're only 7 points. So it's 2 wins and a draw off Europe.
That's easy to get, isn't it?
It's not, it's not gone.
That wraps up part 1 of Propaganda, where we get the Leeds feedback. Hop over to part 2 now, video and audio, to enjoy the Norwich fans' feedback and stuff from the wider world of Propaganda.
The Square Ball Podcast.